Hello there, and welcome to your video on Pythagorean theorem. You should have the notes that look like this, and you are going to fold it into a little pamphlet. Okay, so this is the front side, and this is the inside. So you are going to first fold this. You're going to fold it into thirds. So you're going to fold the vocabulary and then fold this on top of it. Okay, so that you have a nice little pamphlet, and then you glue this portion down. Okay, so mine looks a little different online, but that's what yours should look like. So we're going to go over some vocab and just talk about some logistics of the Pythagorean theorem. Also, this pamphlet includes the notes from this video, and then this is 12-1, and then we'll pause and you'll complete the 12-2 in a second video and 12-3. So this is like 3 sets of notes basically in this one pamphlet. All right. Moving on. So let's talk about some vocabulary. Let's talk about this page first, the front here. So we're going to just do some labeling. So this is our A, and this is our B. These are interchangeable. You could call this A and you could call this B. Doesn't matter, okay? But this part is not interchangeable. This is always the hypotenuse. Okay, and this is always C in the formula of the Pythagorean theorem, which I want you to write right here. So the formula says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, like I said, you can interchange A and B, but C always has to be that one. And C is always the longest side. The hypotenuse is always the longest side of the triangle, okay? Another way to think about the hypotenuse is it's always opposite from the 90-degree angle. This little box here indicates 90 degrees, so it's always opposite from that, okay? So, again, let's label some things down here. Look at this little example. We have, I'm going to call this A and B and C. Now, these boxes are showing what it looks like when A is squared. So A is the side length, but if we square it, then that gives us the area of the square here. So if I have a side length of 3, then the area of the square is 3 squared. And I can see that there's 9 squares there, right? This side length of the triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we square it, that gives us the area of the square. And if we add these together, it should total up the area of this square, right? So let's figure it out here. So we have through A squared, actually, the formula is up here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A squared, my A is 3, so 3 squared plus 4 squared should give me C squared, okay? So 3 squared is 9 plus 4 squared is 16, should equal C squared. 9 plus 16 gives me 25. So there should be a total of 25 squares here. And let's count and see if there is. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Perfect. So there's 25 squares there in total. If I wanted to just find the side length, I would then square root that and that, which would give me 5 equals C. Or in other words, the side length here is 5 squares, which I can see here. Okay. Alrighty, let's move on to some vocabulary. So a right angle is always 90 degrees. And it is shown by the box in the corner. So that tells us the angle is 90 degrees. Okay. The leg of a triangle is always the shorter sides. There's always 2 legs of a triangle. So it's always the shorter of the 3 sides. Okay. Shorter sides, and we label them as A and B. Okay. So as you can see here, and they are interchangeable. The hypotenuse is always C, and it is the longest side. of the right triangle. And it's always opposite from the 90-degree angle. Opposite from 90-degree angle, as we showed here. So here's a 90-degree angle. It is opposite from it. Okay, and square root. We use the square root to find the measure of the side length. So remember, when we use this formula, that gives us the area of the square, but we have to then square root it to find the side length of the triangle or of the square. Okay, so we used to find the measure of the side length. Okay, and I want you to put the little symbol in here so you can remember. It looks like that. Okay, alrighty, moving on. Maybe. Okay, so we're just looking at this, these two middle examples here. Okay, so it says solve for the length of the hypotenuse. So the way that we do this, we use the Pythagorean theorem to find any missing length of any part of a right triangle. In this case, we are trying to find the hypotenuse, or the longest side. Okay, so this is my A, this is my B, and this is my C. So the formula says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So in this case, a is 8 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared, because we don't know what that is, right? 8 squared is 64. 15 squared is 225. Equals c squared. Okay, now remember, when we're talking about squaring, 8 squared is the same thing as 8 times 8. So in your calculator, you can put in 8 times 8 and you'll get out 64, or 15 times 15. Okay, next we need to add these together, and we get 289 equals c squared. Now, this is the part that everyone forgets. You cannot forget to square root it, okay? Because right now, 289 is the area of the big square that's here, right? We want to find just the side length, so we have to square root that sucker, okay? And there's a button on your calculator. So if we take the square root of that, we get 17 equals c. So the side length here is 17. And that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and try the next one. We're going to do the same exact thing. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is a, this is b, this is c. Again, a and b can be interchangeable, but c has to be this one. Okay, so a is 30 squared plus 40 squared equals c squared. Next, I'm going to multiply these. So 30 times 30 gives me 900. 40 times 40 gives me 1600. Okay, add these together and we get 2500. Last step, cannot forget it, is to square root both sides here. Okay, so the square root of 2500 is 50. Again, use your calculator. And the square root of c squared is c. So this side length here is 50. And we're done. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.